ready?
It's time to talk sports. National, local, professional, completely unprofessional, high school and college.
Let's take it even further off the hook.
It's the Zach Gelb Show
We are rolling.
on Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. 5 o'clock hour on a Friday. Yes, I all know if you're getting into your car right now, you're getting ready to go on home and enjoy your weekend, and you definitely do deserve that. Whether you're going out tonight, maybe a little Morgan's Pier, maybe you go out in the Princeton area, who knows. Going to be a fun weekend, but we're kicking off the weekend in style here at Coca-Cola Park. Has really been a fun show. Lehigh Valley and Scranton going to play later on tonight. Phillies and Yankees, AAA affiliates. Earlier on in the first hour, we were joined by Nick Williams. Fun to hear from him. I really enjoyed when he was reminiscing about a kid growing up as a big Ken Griffey Jr. fan, and his first love was football. It wasn't baseball, but then he realized how good of a baseball player he could be, and he's been on a tear right now in AAA. Then we got to talk to the top prospect in the Yankees organization in Gleyber Torres. Still to come, Reese Hoskins at 5:15. We'll do some finals talk as well. The Warriors, they go for the sweep tonight to make it foe, and foe. So you're going to see that tonight. And then we'll see how the league does respond to try to take down just this powerhouse of a team in Golden State. I've never seen a team like this in my lifetime. But now we're going to go back to a little Commack High School roots. That, of course, Bob Costa's not going to be joining us, one of our famous alum of Commack High School I went to. It's not Rosie O'Donnell either. It's going to be the great Sam Mines, who's kind enough to hop on board with us right now. A classmate of mine, by the way, at Commack High School, and now is the studio host for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs and their radio network. Sam, it's like we're back at Commack. A little go get some Bagel Chalet. How are you?
I'm great, Zach. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. We appreciate you coming on. Do you miss Commack High School?
Do I miss Commack High School? No, I'm happy to be here, right where I am right now. I can't complain.
Hey, Mr. Patterson would be pretty proud right now because it wasn't that
he
long
would,
ago.
yeah.
We were in TVJ doing the morning news, the morning announcements. You would get 5 minutes, and Patterson would be coming in and saying, Zach, stop talking. You got to shut up. You're going on too long. The administration is getting a little bit annoyed that you're doing an 8-minute announcement. We did football picks. We did all crazy stuff back at Commack High School. But how'd you end up here in Lehigh Valley doing the Iron Pigs?
So it was a bit of a long story that I'll try and cut down short for you here. But basically, I applied
Most people will get in the 30 for 30 coming up later, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Basically, I just, applying for jobs. I caught the eye of Matt Province, who is the play-by-play broadcaster here for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. He saw my resume, interviewed for the job. He didn't end up hiring me the first time around. Second time came around, asked me if I wanted the job. I said yes, of course, and here I am today.
How about that? How are you enjoying it so far?
Oh, God, I love it here. Everything is fantastic. The team is something else. 41-19, the most wins in all of minor league baseball. The facilities are fantastic. Everybody here is great. I couldn't ask for anything else.
You went to Buff State, is that right?
That is correct.
How was the experience at Buff State?
Buff State's it's a great school. It's growing, as is the city of Buffalo in general. So to kind of see it all happen at once in my time there, it's a city and a school that transitioned from being kind of, what people think of Buffalo to more of a booming city. It's nice, and it was a good 4 years, and wouldn't be here without it.
We have to get into the hard-hitting analysis right now because my sister went to Buffalo.
Yes.
SUNY Buffalo, and then also I was at Buffalo this past year for the NCAA tournament. Villanova was playing. Princeton was playing as the Ivy League champions. Did make it to the NCAA tournament this year after running the table in the Ivy League. And I went to all the fine eating establishments. If you go to Buffalo, get ready to gain 15 pounds in beer, wings, and hot dogs. So I need you to rank these 3 food places for me in your personal preference. Duff's, Anchor Bar, and then Ted's Hot Dogs.
Well, Duff's is going to be number 1 for me.
Let's throw one more in there. What's the pizza place everyone goes to? Baki?
Oh, yeah. I do
Okay.
know what you're talking about.
So rank those 4 for me.
Well, the 2, I would take Duff's over Anchor Bar if we're
Agreed.
talking strictly wing places. I would then go Ted's because I like all the food at Duff's. Actually, you know what? Give me Duff's, then Ted's, and then Anchor Bar. And then the pizza is I like Buffalo pizza, but I always kind of look for the New York style places because there's a couple of
Mario's,
those close. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
No Scala.
Right.
What's the other place? So what's the place right next to Commack High School? I can't remember it right now.
Yeah, is it Emilio's?
Emilio's, there we go. They have the best bread basket.
Right.
Emilio's. Overpriced everything else, but the bread basket is unbelievable. So Sam Mines here with us, a high school classmate of mine back at Commack High School, now doing the studio hosting job for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. This team at the AAA, it's unbelievable what they're doing. Let's talk about some of those players. Let's first start off with Reese Hoskins.
Well, Reese Hoskins is incredible. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch him play this year, if you haven't really heard much about him, Hoskins is essentially your big-time power hitting first baseman who also hits for average. And at the beginning of this year, he and a lot of his teammates, as well as Dusty Wathan, the manager, were making their transitions from AA Reading last season here to AAA Lehigh Valley. And there was a little bit of struggles in the beginning of the season for just about everybody, but not for Reese Hoskins. He came out firing from the word go, and now he's hitting .304 here in the month of June. He's got 14 home runs, 48 RBIs. He hasn't skipped a beat at all this season.
Hey, you know what's amazing about it? Because I talked to him last year, and he talked about wanting to cut down on the strikeouts. So they weren't crazy last year. He only had 120-something strikeouts. He also said he wanted to improve on the start to the season, and like you just so eloquently said, he's done that. But just the way that he's able to not only field the position, but his approach at the plate, how a guy could hit that many home runs and only strike out 30-something times this year, it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and we kind of joke about it. Matt Province and Tom Housnick out there, we all kind of have this joke that he starts every at bat with a 2-1 count. And if you do pay close attention tonight, probably 2 out of, depending on how many times he gets up, maybe 4, maybe 3 times, he will get to a 2-1 count in his at bats. His eye at the plate, his approach is incredible, and it obviously helps to get hits because when you're ahead in the count and you're that good of a hitter, you're in control of the at bat. And you spoke about his defense as well. Nobody makes a cleaner pick at first base than Reese Hoskins.
All right, now let's get on to the outfield and get to someone. They're called the Bash Brothers. We all know that. Dylan Cousins hits a lot of home runs, also strikes out a lot. What's your analysis on him?
Exactly like you said. Cousins can hit the cover off of the ball twice when he hits a home run. We've seen him hit one out. It's bad radio, but if you see the guitar, he's hit one out and over that.
That's a shot.
This season. Yeah, it was about 469 feet. Home run.
I couldn't do that in my dreams.
Yeah, right. He is as good a power hitter as you're going to get, and it's pure power. But if he can cut down on the strikeouts, he can improve that average to about the 280s because that's about where he was last season. And I think the cold start for him in April this season has kind of kept his average low. But I think he's going to be far more of a better doubles hitter and gap guy going forward in the season. His average number may not reflect it this season, but I think if he continues the way he's going, he's going to end up with the 40 home runs, but he's going to also hit into the 270s and the 280s, and that's really what you want to see out of him.
Do you think he'll get called up this year?
I think most of these guys will end up getting called up at some point, whether it'll be in the next month or so or closer to September, hopefully late September when our season is over. I think they'll all have a chance at the majors at some point this year. For the most part, the big guys, Hoskins, Cousins, Nick Williams, who I know you spoke with earlier today, I think most of these guys are going to see the majors at some point.
I think Williams is the closest to getting there. I think right now the way they're playing, Hoskins is the closest, but in terms of openings, I have to imagine Williams is the closest.
Yeah, and Williams made a point of letting me know when I got a chance to talk to him that he was the only guy as part of the big trade, I believe it was the Cole Hamels trade,
yes,
that came over, and he's the only one that hasn't made it up to the majors yet, so we're definitely rooting for him to be able to make that final step. But his play this season has improved from last year. Defensively, he's gotten a lot more sound. His hustle and his base running has gotten a lot better. And couple that with the fact that he does have 12 home runs, good for second on the team, because I believe both Hoskins and Cousins, the Bash brothers, are tied with home runs. The power's there, the average is there, and he's got some good speed as well.
I know he just got hurt, but Roman Quinn, it's just an unfortunate thing to say.
It is unfortunate because Quinn does have a history of injuries, and I think he would have been the first guy to get called up to the Phillies, only because, he talent-wise, his speed is such an issue for opposing pitchers that he gets on, and he could be essentially a leadoff triple by just drawing a walk in the top of the first inning. And that's the type of leadoff batter that everybody in the major leagues wants. It's just unfortunate that he's had some injury issues, but hopefully be back soon, and then we'll be able to make his way up to Philly.
Everyone for so many years just living in Philly, people tell me J.P. Crawford's going to be a stud. J.P. Crawford's going to be a stud. And then you look at the numbers this year. We know he's great defensively, but the numbers offensively, under 200, you get to see him every day. What's going on with him?
Well, the average numbers are not where JP would like them to be. I know that for sure. But his on-base percentage is really good. Nobody has a better eye than JP Crawford. I mean, if you actually watch him bat, which I'm sure you'll get a chance to tonight, the way he approaches every pitch and takes pitches that you would think he'd be crazy to take in certain situations is tremendous. If he could couple that with a Dylan Cousins-like aggressive approach at the plate, and maybe instead of trying to work a 3-1 count, taking 2-1 and using that to his advantage to get a hit, then maybe those offensive numbers would go up average-wise. But as the weather's turned a little bit here in the Lehigh Valley and gotten a bit warmer, he has started to heat up as well. He had a week where he had, I think, 4 straight 2-hit games. And the talent is there offensively. He just has to start being more aggressive at the plate, I think.
All right, let's get to the catcher, Jorge Alfaro. Your impression so far on him?
I think Alfaro's a good dude. He's funny. He's lively. He's energetic. He can hit as well as any guy on this team. I think the offense is certainly there for him. And surprisingly fleet of foot as well. At one point, he and Roman Quinn were actually tied for triples lead on the team. He's got a great arm behind the plate as well. I think it's just a matter of there's a lot of raw factors there for him. There's power, but he's very aggressive at the plate, maybe a little too much. He's fast, but he might not be the best base runner, if you know what I mean. If they can get him to a point where he's not swinging at everything and he's controlling pitchers really well behind the plate, I think he's going to be kind of that full package catcher because he can throw out guys really well. He's got a tremendous arm. He used to be a shortstop. They converted him to catcher. And even though that was a few years ago in the Rangers organization, I think becoming a catcher takes a lot of work. So he's probably still kind of picking up on all of that as well.
I'm a little skeptical about the future of the Phillies organization. Clearly there's going to be a lot of work to be done in free agency, and if they could land some of these big names that all the fans speculate and dream about, then that would totally change it. But just some of the guys here, I think they could be, some of them, really good players, but I don't know how many great players they have in this organization. But the biggest surprise this year and the biggest concern has been the starting pitching on the big league level, because guys like Eichhoff and Velasquez aren't performing how we anticipated them to perform. Nola is starting to turn it around, but we'll see how long that could last. In terms of starting pitching here, who are the names that people need to be familiar with?
Well, if there's one name that you should be familiar with right this very day, it's Tom Eshelman. Eshelman walked into this team on May, I believe it was the 4th or the 5th. His first ever AAA start, he went 7 innings, shut out, let's see, who were we playing? It was probably, could have been Scranton. I'm not quite sure who it was, but he walked into this team, won his first 3 starts. He won the International League Player of the Month, not pitcher, but player. He's 4-0. He had this incredibly long scoreless streak going, which was snapped only in the late teens because of a 2-out error, which led to 2 earned runs. Eshelman, much like Rhys Hoskins on the pitching side, is a guy that I think you need to look at just simply because he made such a seamless transition from AA to AAA that you would think that the pressure does not get to him, that the elevated level of talent in front of him, opposing him, does not get to him. And I think that's one you're going to look out for. Ben Lively, who's in Philadelphia right now, he's gone 2 straight 7-inning starts. Yeah, and he went toe-to-toe with a Cy Young Award winner, former Cy Young Award winner, and R.A. Dickey last night.
I like how you say that now.
Yeah.
Of course, being a Met fan, and just like I,
Yeah.
R.A. Dickey, yes, he did win a Cy Young Award.
Yeah, he did.
Let's throw that in there.
But you know what? For a young guy like a Ben Lively,
it's a big accomplishment.
That's a tremendous accomplishment to be able to go up because you know what? He's a tremendous pitcher, R.A. Dickey, and still throwing the knuckleball strong at, what is he, 44, 45 years old. And to be even able to, for one night, measure yourself up against that is a big deal. Jake Thompson is another guy. He was last year's International League Pitcher of the Year. He struggled a little bit on this season, but he has shown signs of what he was last year. He's a big, hard-throwing, sort of a Noah Syndergaard light-type pitcher.
Wow.
If you look at his strengths and his positives, because he's big and he throws hard. And if they could kind of get him back onto the trajectory that he was at last season, he's a guy that could be very strong for the Phillies going forward as well.
You were a Mets fan growing up. You still are a Mets fan, even though you're working for the AAA affiliate here. We won't hold that against you. But with that being said, our Mets, they stink. They're absolutely terrible.
The Mets are an enigma. They are an interesting franchise that always finds new and interesting ways to either get player injuries or run into. I mean, you look at a situation like the Matt Harvey situation, and he's staying out late, girlfriend issues, and yeah, maybe it's all elevated due to the fact that it's a New York team and they were just in the World Series a couple of years ago. But the Mets, they always seem to be in the news for the wrong reasons.
Mr. Met flipping the bird.
Yeah, right. Mr.
Tony
Met flipping the bird.
Ripping off his shirt, trying to fight everyone. Firing Willie Randolph the way they did that. I could go on and on and on.
Right. I think it's a team that, if they played in a smaller market.
Minnesota.
Right. Maybe you wouldn't hear about all the although you would hear about the mascot flipping off fans. Because I think that would be funny wherever it happened. Yeah. I mean, if any mascot is flipping off fans, I'm going to get a good laugh out of that. But I think the Mets just, they find themselves in trouble for the wrong reasons a lot of the time.
They find the way to screw up in ways you can't even write it up in a movie.
And you know what? The fact of the matter is that it's just unfortunate because it's a team that has a ton of talent.
Sure.
The starting pitching, you just look at the World Series run they made a couple years ago. People were touting this as $1 billion strength in terms of arms on the team. And DeGrom was throwing fantastic. He shut out the Cubs. He pitched tremendously against the Dodgers in a deciding Game 5. Syndergaard was throwing lights out against who would eventually become the World Series champions in the Royals. And, out of the bullpen, they were fantastic as well. And all of a sudden you have an issue with who's the closer for the Mets? It's
Familia.
Familia, right. And Familia is done for the year. And, something completely out of his control and out of the Mets' control. And it's just one of those situations where you look at it in this sort of Generation K type of light where it's the Mets, the talent is there and the hype is there. And everybody after so long was so excited for this team to be competitive. And then you have a season like this and it's just disappointing for the Mets in general because there's more. There should be more there.
You couldn't have said it any better. Okay, before we let you run, this ballpark is unbelievable. It's one of the nicest minor league ballparks I've ever seen. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's a picture-perfect day for baseball. So if you want to make the trip from Philly or New Jersey, you still have time to get on down here, only about an hour 30, 2-hour drive max. But with all that being said, what do I have to get here at this ballpark? Is there like a certain food item? Or I hear the food here is ridiculous.
The food here is ridiculous. There is as good options as any that you could get. I know I'm a big fan of the cinnamon roasted nuts, which are right downstairs when you leave the press box. But I think as per our MO, anything bacon related, I know there's some sort of burgers with bacon on it. I know there's chocolate-covered bacon so that you can cover your sweet tooth once you end up eating the other forms of bacon. The Aw Shucks corn, I've heard, is very good. And there's
what
about,
a name, Aw Shucks corn.
And there's about every type of beer you could possibly want here. So if you're any way you're feeling in terms of, your stomach's rumbling and you're thinking, man, I want bacon this way or that way, well, you've come to the right place.
I'm going to break it down by 3 innings tonight. I'll be a media member for 3 innings. I'll be a fan for 3 innings. And then maybe I'll be like an old man for 3 innings and try to get out of here a little bit early to go enjoy my
traffic,
Friday.
Right.
One last thing, though, before we let you run. I got 2 more things for you.
Okay.
Let's get back to food rankings here. And I'll clarify one more thing. Emilio's, by the way, I didn't give him enough credit. They have a very good bread basket, very good rigatoni alla vodka and rigatoni bolognese. Give me your 3 favorite places. You go back home to Commack. What are the 3 places you go to? What are the must-stops?
Ooh, what are the must-stops in Commack? That's a great question. Let's see. It would be the Dunkin' on no.
Stop it. Dunkin' Donuts.
Let's see. That is a good question. I have to
Chalet,
give it a bit
right?
of a thought. But, well, yeah, you know what? That's the thing. Everybody, you don't have bagels out here unless you go to like a, like a
Not
Dunkin'
good
Donuts.
bagels, right, yeah.
Right. So, right. If you're looking for the good New York bagel, right, you would go to, let's see, Mayfair Bagel, Bagel Chalet, House of Bagels. Any of those are good, viable options. I mean, where can't you go for pizza? You can roll down Indian Head and come across about 5 pizza places. I'm particular to, let's see, Shortstop Pizza. If you go down Indian Head into Commack or into Kings Park is really good. as well as
you ever been to
Anderson's Deli is incredible.
Very good.
That's
Commack
a good
breakfast.
one. Oh, Commack breakfast. That's
I remember doing football two-a-days.
yeah.
And then in between the two-a-days, we'd be so exhausted because we'd be so beat up getting up at 6 in the morning. And for some reason, we would make the stupid decision to go get me and I think like Spencer Lasker and Alex Eisen would go get a Hungry Man sandwich.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we would come back for the second two-a-day, and we would be puking on the sideline after who was it, Mr. DiLorenzo or Coach Ball would make us run a gasser.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a Hungry Man and a two-a-day is a good combination. I would not suggest that.
All right, last thing for you. You had a great experience with the king, the sports pope of radio, and Mike Francesa, who I know very well. He's known me since I came out of the womb. And no, he's not my father, just to clarify. But with the big man that's retiring soon and Mike Francesa, just recap that experience you had.
That experience was an interesting experience.
The Phenom, right?
You're right. It was the WFAN Fantasy Phenom contest, and I'm sure your listeners are probably familiar with WFAN being in the tri-state area. But basically, the gist of the contest is you go on and you try to win a weekly show on WFAN. And so you start off with a 2-minute rant at a local, I think it was a mall that I went to. And from there, you get decided by whoever the judges were, and then there would be a voting round, and I made it past that, and then it was on to the Boomer and Carton show as part of the semifinals or I guess it was technically the finals at that point. But what they had us do was Boomer and Carton were at some Irish bar, and the Irish bar is important because it was St. Paddy's Day, and their show was from
Al
6
Duke
to 10.
Singing and
yeah, so just imagine getting up at about 7 o'clock, 6:30 on a St. Patrick's Day morning and going to an Irish bar. It's packed.
Yeah.
And so they had us do another rant at that point. They gave us topics, and at that point it was Zach Wheeler getting hurt for the Mets, and basically everybody had basically the same takes on that. And then they chose your, quote unquote mentor, who you would spend time with and go on their show. I got chosen for Mike Francesa.
Francesa mentoring.
Yeah.
Kid, you're never going to be as big as me. You probably don't have a future. I don't know what you're doing, but you're not going to be as big as me. Something like that, right?
It's a good Francesa.
Back after this.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. You know what, Francesa, I'm sure he didn't want to have to deal with me. Here's this kid coming in who's it's just a disruption to his routine, but you know what? He took me into his office. He talked to me, and then he put me on the air. I sat in with Monzo and watched him do a show for a little while.
Good guy.
Yeah, hand waved the callers, and then basically he brought me in. He was like, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Tell me about why you should be the fantasy
Big
phenom.
3 minutes, right? Turned into probably 15 when he was quizzing your entire life.
Right? Yeah, there was a lot of questions. It was nice though because tell me about your family, your background, where you went to
cool
school.
For everyone to hear.
Right, and the nice thing about me getting with Francesa is that Francesa was also simulcast on Fox Sports 1. So essentially, I got to be simulcast to the entire United States
That's awesome.
at that point. So that's actually a really neat experience. He gave me the whole segment to do whatever, and then it was all right, on your way. Then we had our finals at the Hard Rock Cafe in Manhattan. Finals, we kind of get up. We had to do about a 2-minute spiel on whatever, and I think that was at the time Mullen got hired by St. John's, so that was a big topic. It was, trendy for that time. Then we had a reader, and then we had a couple judges, tell us about how we did. But at that point, it was a popularity contest because it came down to a vote.
Did the Sports Pope help you out a little bit? Did he get Mongo Nation? I love Mongo Nation.
Hey, Mongo Nation. I tried my best. I tried to appeal to the good people of Mongo Nation, but in the end, it wasn't meant to be.
You should have gave a little like Mad Dog Russo. Nicely produced.
Yeah, right.
Would have got you like 100,000 votes. Probably would have won you the thing.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what? Looking back on it, it got me here, so I can't complain. And the runner-up prize was 2 hours or an hour on WFAN.
Wow.
One night, I got my own producer.
2 a.m. probably.
I got the good shift. It was December 23rd at midnight. So I came on. The Devils had just finished their game, and the schmoozer came by and talked to me, Steve Summers, kind of gave me a nice pep talk. And you know what? I got a nice 12 to 2 slot. And, I got to take some calls.
Awesome.
Had a couple friends call in. That
Dave
was the
Miller
time.
probably calling, right? That's
Dave
one of your
Miller,
great
right?
guys.
But what was
He
fantastic
would used to
about
always
that?
Facebook message me about my takes that I used to put on Facebook and would yell at me.
What was fantastic about that was right after OBJ got into it with the Carolina Panthers. So
Oh, wow. With
that was
Norman.
the perfect time to be on New York Sports Talk Radio. And it led to me being here with the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. So it was a perfect stepping stone to where I am today.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck. Great to
Thank
see
you.
you. And,
It's great to see you,
go
too.
Commack Cougars, baby. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. From Coca-Cola Park, 609-919-9200. 5:25 is the time as we broadcast back to the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. We'll take a break, and we're coming on back. Reese Hoskins will join us next.